Born in India to an aristocratic Afghan family in 1924, Idris Shah came to be a world-renowned author and teacher of the Sufi tradition. He dedicated his life to adapting essential aspects of Sufism and Islam to the West with only one thing in mind: the development of human potential. Here are essential quotes from his book, Learning How to Learn. There are innumerable Sufis who have once been scholars, but there is no single Sufi known to us, perhaps to all history, who has subsequently become a scholar. Few people will disagree that there is a difference between the reality, the observed fact, and the supposed facts created by opinion and maintained by constant repetition. The Sufi's opposition to the scholar is not any opposition to scholarship. It is an opposition to regarding scholarship as something which it is not. Opposition is quite possibly the beginning of friendship, however it may appear on the surface. Love your enemy, therefore, is not to be regarded as a noble sentiment which makes you a better person, especially, but as an injunction which actually describes the deeper dimensions already existing in the relationship. Scholars themselves know a great deal about the besetting sin of their profession, that of over-specialization and blinkered dogmatism. Human progress is slowed down or halted when people aim for evident success measured by what people can easily describe as success, and lose impetus for success of intention. How can a man be a teacher if he has shortcomings? One might almost put it the other way around. How can a teacher be a man unless he has shortcomings? Sufis have always maintained that whatever comes into this abode of decay, the world, must partake of its imperfections. Those religious people who sacrifice themselves because they are emotionally conditioned to a doctrine are heroes, perhaps, but not saints. Those heroes who sacrifice themselves because of real knowledge, though this may appear to be logical or intellectual knowledge, are in reality saints, as Sufis use the word. Sufis claim that before religion must come sense and understanding. Anything else is mechanical or emotional, with a likelihood of insufficient depth of understanding. Human potentiality is an endowment, and one which can be preserved, enriched, and also spent. So, in addition to getting something, how about some attention to the matter of not losing something? If money is given with a sense of joy, that joy is payment for the charity, and the good which comes to the giver is restricted to that emotion. Although this kind of giving is familiar to most people, it nevertheless remains the minor form of charity. A Sufi will give before being asked, give whatever he has without counting it, give when asked, give no emotional or calculated charity unless he can give true charity. Charity does not always involve money, as you know. Charity is not only given, as you call it. It is lived and performed, which means being and doing. People persist in considering books, in their possible effect upon people, as always the same, This stupidity is one of the less attractive legacies of mechanical scholasticism, which, indeed, usually requires a standardized mind to approach each and every book. Patience is to be patient with patience. The decline in the influence of religion has been due, in the main, not to religion itself, but to the very shallowness of many practitioners. Sophisticated arguments and the ability to play with words do not add up to an advanced form of thought, only a cunning one. Dedicated religionists, such as we commonly meet, are, of course, no more religious than an atheist. They are crude emotionalists who happen to have adopted religion as the field of their operations. Religion is their medium of action and expression, not the basis of their behavior. Yesterday's dogmas are tomorrow's impossibilities. Remember the first Persian book on Sufism. Idris says, "The worst man is the one who is imagined to be serving God, but in reality is not. The noblest is the one imagined not to be a devotee of God, who really is such." The psychologist, as familiar to us today, is generally dealing with what we call the false personality of man, the superficial, though necessary, intellectual emotional system with which he works. We are attempting to contact and inform the deeper individuality of the human being. "That is a very dangerous lake, Mullah," said the local fisherman, "and people who swim in it are always being found dead at the bottom." "That's all right, friend," said Nasruddin. "I'll keep well away from the bottom." The things of the world which conduce to higher perception have little meaning, but much potential use. People look for meaning and are ignorant of use, so they value secondary worldly ideas instead of choosing them as instruments. They may want sacrifice or effort, but only the kind which they have been trained to believe is sacrifice or effort. Stylized effort, though, is no effort at all. You must know, or find out, the difference between meeting to learn and experience something, and meeting in order to be emotionally stimulated or intellectually tested or socially reassured. Where there is ideology, conditioning, and indoctrination, a mechanical element is introduced which drives out the factor of extra-dimensional reality perception, which connects the higher functions of the mind with the higher reality. It has often been observed by Sufis that people who try to follow spiritual paths without the primary training of disengaging their pride frequently encounter sorrow and worse. People who try to mold the world's evil ways, says Hassan of Basra, which to the Sufi includes one's own personality, without doing it in correct sequence, are ruined. Oddness of appearance is not contradiction of fact, as the saying goes. It is conditioning as much as ignorance, which perpetuates the ignorance of humanity. People speak again and again of things which they love, whether they do so in pleasant or unpleasant terms. To be attached to something favorably or otherwise, is the basic condition. Remember that the definition of a learner is one who learns, not one who thinks that he is a student. The wise know because they have paid for their wisdom. You do not accept their counsel because it is offered for so much less than they have paid for it. We shall have to learn to refrain from doing things merely because we know how to do them. The bitter truth is that before man can know his own inadequacy or the competence of another man or institution, he must first learn something which will enable him to perceive both. Note well that his perception itself is the product of right study, not of instinct or emotional attraction to an individual, nor yet of desiring to go it alone. This is learning how to learn. The secondary commanding self in everyone is the false self, which everyone takes to be the real one. It stands in relation to the real being of the person as the face does to the person, virtually a persona. Someone or something has first to impart to you how to perceive the presence of knowledge. Without preparation, there can be no teaching. Almost the only opportunity for man to realize his individual importance is through the support of a group of suitable people. People are interested in miracles when they would do better to be interested in truth. Miracles are byproducts or else part of the special extra-dimensional activity in which certain people are involved. People can learn from groups and meetings only to the extent to which they have overcome the four traps which Ansari stresses: ingratitude in good fortune, impatience in ill fortune, discontent with their lot, hesitation in serving their fellows. It is to draw attention to the essential that Sufis appear to attack the derivative or secondary. The reason that I speak less than others do about God is to be answered very much as Ibn Arabi is reported to have done. He said, "It is not worthy to deal with cleanliness when one is clearing up rubbish. Cleanliness is the result of necessary preliminaries." A Sufi teacher of my acquaintance said in my hearing when someone asked him to talk about God, "It would be an insult to God to speak of him to you, and it would be valuing me too highly to assume that I dared to talk of God." It is important to speak of a thing, let alone God, with reserve, unless it be warranted.